fruits. See how farmers keep their crops warm when the temperatures drop.
In the past, Kenyan Easterling has burned brush piles, run large fans, and even flown helicopters over the crops.
Seaweed threat. It's a 5,000-mile wide blob and is heading for Florida.
Seaweed is yucky.
And how researchers are using corn to clean the air.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. This could be a busy weather day for folks in Texas. Strong to severe storms are possible there today. North Texas especially at risk, along with portions of Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana. Large hail and strong winds are possible later this afternoon. The storm threat moves east to the Gulf Coast tomorrow. And now to California, where the sun is finally out after a week of intense winter storms. Evacuation orders have been lifted and residents are finally returning to their homes. Some of those homes actually may be damaged. Flooding impacting California from the northern portion of the state all the way down to Los Angeles. And let's stay in L.A. with the staring rescue right here, caught on camera. The man holding on tightly to a sheer wall to keep from being swept away. And then this. A Los Angeles Fire Department helicopter lowers a rescue worker down to just grab that man. You can see it here and hoist him into the chopper. The man was taken to the hospital and treated for hypothermia. We're learning this morning that he was in the water at least 30 minutes before that rescue right there. And in Northern California, residents are facing intense flooding as well. A mix of heavy rain and melting snow causing rivers to flood their banks, and residents were evacuated from several towns. Mason Carroll is in Redding, California with more.
We're down the hallway. Great.
12 houses with 11 families were flooded Tuesday at an authority property management complex. Resident Tim Nielsen says almost everything was destroyed.
Everybody's stuff is basically a total loss if it was within 4 feet from the ground.
Residents here tell me within 20 minutes, the water went from ankle deep to waist deep, and some only had a few minutes to get out safely.
Now right here basically turns into a dam for all the water because this drain got plugged up and this whole thing just turned into one big pond.
Nielsen says his family was not home at the time, but his sister, Miranda Teeter, arrived just before the floodwaters swept through their home, and she had to carry her children out in the floodwaters.
And I just strapped them on myself, both kids, and I couldn't wait anymore, so I made my way to our car, and by then it was waist deep. Just seeing all of your children's things just kind of ruined. It's just really devastating. Like, that's the only way there's no other way to spin it. That's the best word I have for it, is devastating.
Teeter says the love from the community has simply been amazing.
It's very humbling and really appreciated. And, we have a great community here.
And these latest storms are a part of another atmospheric river. Meteorologist Michael Enrenberg shows us how they develop and also impact the weather.
We've all been seeing headlines of the record-breaking snow and rain across the western U.S., including California, all due to what's called an atmospheric river. Well, we have a river on the ground. It's just a narrow area of water moving through. An atmospheric river is similar, except it's a loft, and it's water vapor, gaseous amounts of water in the atmosphere. And this can be 200 to 400 miles wide. These atmospheric rivers, aided by the jet stream, push inland, and as they're forced over the mountains, they go higher up, and the moisture cools and condenses, producing rain, and if cold enough, snow. And depending on the duration, atmospheric rivers can produce very heavy snow, flooding, and mudslides. There's been more than 11 of them this season so far over the western U.S.
Flooding is now a problem in Utah. 2 hikers were found dead after water filled a slot canyon in southern Utah. Several parts of Zion National Park are now closed because of that water. One of the most popular areas, called the Narrows, is closed until the water recedes. Now, park officials say visitors should also check the forecast and also conditions before heading out.
Taking that forecast and using it to inform the way that you dress by putting on layers, carrying and drinking plenty of water, and having a plan and a backup plan. Because conditions here can change quickly, and right now we're seeing the way that things can change because of a lot of water, the hike that you may have planned to do may not be accessible while you're in the park.
And when flooding gets too extreme, the park will actually close. All national parks update current conditions on their website. Not far from Zion, a family of 5 was rescued after they were trapped by floodwaters. They were stuck on the other side of a wash or a shallow channel of water. They apparently entered the park before the floodwaters started flowing. Rescuers used high lines to get the family, which included 3 young children, across that river.
I'm happy for that family because the way it's raining right now, the way that water's coming down, they would have been there all night, and that would have posed, hypothermia issues, and especially for the little ones.
Everyone made it back across the water without any injuries. 2 hikers are expected to be okay after spending hours in blinding snow and cold in Massachusetts. State police say the men got stranded while hiking to a cabin during Tuesday's nor'easter. The snow was too deep for first responders to use snowmobiles, so they had to walk into the forest to rescue them. The hikers were cold, but otherwise they were not hurt. The nor'easter left many Syracuse, New York neighborhoods buried under heavy, wet snow, and plows didn't get to every street. Maggie DeRogers found residents thought more roads really needed to be cleared.
Snow in central New York is something everyone's familiar with, and the city of Syracuse has a full fleet of plows tackling the streets. Despite the resources, some streets had significant snow and slush as of Wednesday afternoon, hours after the storm ended. Some neighbors in Sedgwick accepted their fate and gave the city some slack.
It's not the end of the world for me, and next week is spring, so I'm really excited. For snow, I think we're okay.
Where I stand, you kind of get the tale of 2 streets. Over here, completely plowed, not a lick of snow. But here, just a few steps away, my foot sinks over my ankles into snow. This street has yet to see a plow in quite some time.
Neighbors understand that areas around hospitals and hills take priority, but say something needs to change because not everyone can drive in these conditions.
If you have an SUV and a 4-wheel drive, and you're young, I guess, if you're getting old, I don't know, but there's some work to be done.
The moisture out west isn't just in California. Portions of Oregon are soaked from plenty of rain and snow. Kevin McNamara spoke with farmers to find out what the weather means for their crops.
An incredibly wet and snowy winter is coming to a close. And Klamath County is at record levels of snowpack. In some areas at 130% of what would be expected. It's great news for a basin devastated by drought for years.
It certainly is a positive improvement hydrologically in terms of precipitation in the basin and snowpack in the mountains. So we are in a fundamentally different place than we were in the last 3 years in terms of water supply.
More heavy rain is expected in the near future, but the rain and snow don't directly go to Klamath Basin farmers. They're still subject to the water allotments given by the Bureau of Reclamation. And the Bureau is saying they're not sure how much will be available.
They've even gone so far as to tell one group of our contractors that they don't anticipate any supply available for them. We feel that that's a premature announcement, but what it really points to, what it really reflects, is just how broken the current system is. There is a need to fundamentally look at how water is managed and to rethink it both with respect to the needs of listed species and we'd say the ecosystem as a whole, including our farms and our refuges.
A new study finds Arctic sea ice has undergone an irreversible thinning in the last 16 years. The study in the journal Nature found that sea ice declined during a record low summer in 2007 and then never recovered. While it appears the ice isn't getting any thinner, researchers say there are no signs of improvement. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we take a look at the unique way farms keep their crops warm during early spring freezes. Plus, a look at how corn can help keep the air in your home clean. And time now for a short break. This drone footage from California showing the Lake Success Dam releasing water into the Tule River.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. Most of the Northeast will top out in the 40s today. A few select spots will be in the 50s. Southern New York, perhaps southern parts of New England, northern New Jersey. Here are some candidates for some 50s this afternoon. Notice a fair amount of sunshine, but a few clouds mix in during the afternoon. That's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, as we go into Friday, a weak disturbance will likely bring some wet weather in the form of rain and rain showers. Looks like we'll clear it out on Saturday.
I'm meteorologist Jonathan Myers, and here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region, starting off with some 30s to near 40 at about 9 a.m., well into the 50s, even 60s into the afternoon with a good deal of sun on our Thursday, so enjoy some sunny, nice weather coming our way. Fair weather high pressure is going to be our latest weather maker, but another system out to the west could give us a chance at some showers by St. Patrick's Day on Friday. That's the scene here.
I'm meteorologist Vetus Reed. Here's a look at your southeast forecast. Highs for the day. We're seeing 66 in Raleigh and Charleston, 71 Birmingham, Mobile about 74 degrees, 81 in Tampa, the warm spot, 75 West Palm. Plenty of sunshine early, but it looks like as we go through the day out towards the Mississippi River Valley, it looks like we'll continue to see some showers and thunderstorms moving in along the next front that's going to be pushing east as we get into Thursday overnight and then into Friday, a chance for some rain showers across the southeast.
Watching the National Weather Desk.
Freezing temperatures in mid-March are not something farmers want to see, but it happens. Luckily, there are methods to keep crops warm during cold bouts. Aaron Wise in Birmingham, Alabama, with a look at some of the tools farmers use to keep their crops protected.
Very, very busy. Not a lot of sleep.
With 60,000 strawberry plants to look after, freezing temps are keeping John DeLoach on his feet.
We're typically 6 to 8 degrees colder right through here, through this little valley. If the wind blows, you're okay. They won't frost. Once the wind settles, that's when frost happens.
That frost is a big problem for strawberry blooms.
If the frost hits that bloom, they call it, that's the black eye. It will grow again and bloom again, yes. But we're 30 days behind.
The hard freeze in December already set the crop back a few days, killing off some of the plant's foliage. To keep the crop healthy now, row covers drape across the field.
Depending on thickness, they will buy you about 10 degrees typically. That's why we try to keep some fires going to kind of keep the air warmed up, what you can do.
Peach trees, another crop of interest this time of year. In the past, Kenyon Easterling has burned brush piles, run large fans, and even flown helicopters over the crop.
It displaces the cold, dense air there with some warm air from aloft.
This time of year, paying attention to forecast becomes increasingly important.
All the work, all that you do, the loss of sleep, whatever, is worth it.
Blooming trees and flowers usually spice up the spring, but there's a massive floating bloom lining portions of Florida's East Coast that is grabbing everybody's attention. As Amber Robb reports, no one wants to see it, but it's moving closer to land and it isn't going anywhere.
Every year around this time, sargassum seaweed appears along Florida's East Coast, leaving beachgoers unhappy.
I like to fish, so you can't really fish when the seaweed is in the water.
A University of South Florida oceanography professor says Floridians need to be prepared for more seaweed this year, visually explaining just how much.
It's a belt. It's elongated, very long belt extending from West Africa to Gulf of Mexico, about 5,000 miles long. 200 to 300 miles wide.
Hu says the seaweed that currently sits in the Atlantic covers only about 0.1% of the ocean's surface.
And you can see the scale from West Africa to Gulf of Mexico. There's a huge amount. But now, if we look at Gulf of Mexico, all the dots, those are seaweed. And look at the Strait of Florida, there's some amount. And sooner or later, this amount will make a turn into the Straits of Florida along the East Coast.
And experts warn not to touch the seaweed you see on the shore.
This is a natural plant. It's not toxic. Rotten seaweed can attract insects, can grow bacteria. So people should avoid that.
Hu says we can start expecting larger amounts washing ashore in April.
The United States produces more corn than any other country in the world. And now researchers at Washington State University have found a new use for that crop. Holly Menino is in Seattle and shows us how they're using corn to clear the air.
Corn. It feeds our livestock, fuels our cars, and could soon filter our air. Researchers at Washington State University put the commodity to the test, creating an air filter made of corn.
The challenge issues how to capture toxic gas molecules.
Commercial air purifiers remove tiny particles from the air, but air pollution also contains hazardous gas molecules like carbon monoxide, formaldehyde, and other volatile organic compounds, or VOCs.
We spin the corn protein solution into fibers, so make them into fabrics.
The WSU team says the amino acids in corn protein act like octopus tentacles, grabbing toxic chemical molecules, something they say most filters can't. Their research found that the corn filter captured 99.5% of small particulate matter, similar to HEPA filters, and 87% of formaldehyde, which they say is more than other air filters. The corn air filter is also biodegradable.
This filter will not cause secondary pollution.
Researchers chose to test corn because of its abundance in the U.S. The USDA says, on average, U.S. farmers plant about 90 million acres of corn each year. And now this super vegetable could soon have one more use.
Tourists and locals often flock to majestic waterfalls in the summertime. Others might check out a place like Niagara Falls in the colder months. But as Eric Peterson reports in Wisconsin, there's a winter waterfall that may not be as high, but it has other remarkable features.
From its headwaters near Crandon, the Peshtigo River flows more than 135 miles before reaching the waters of Green Bay. But at a place called Goodman County Park, water begins to swell and gain momentum.
It's not the biggest falls, but it really takes on a cool shape. Coming under the bridge, it flows over quite a few rocks, and just the power that goes through it. I mean, it's strong falls, so even though it might not be the biggest drop you've ever seen, the amount of water that comes gushing through that thing is amazing to watch.
Marinette County Development and Tourism Program Assistant Autumn Rockhill says Strong Falls is a popular destination, especially in the winter.
With the snow over it, the ice formations that get created, but it's amazing to see that water still flowing no matter how cold it gets.
Rockhill says it's been a relatively mild winter in the area northwest of Wasaki, with snow piling up only recently. She says spring-like weather is on its way and will have an impact on this winter waterfall.
You could come on a Monday and a Friday and have a totally different sight. So that's one of the really cool things, is just to watch the way nature's changing, the way the weather is working with the water that's flowing, and just to see the differences and the amazing things that can occur in just a short amount of time.
Well, 2 years ago today, a dust storm hit southwest Texas, and it could be seen from space. Meteorologist Emily Gracie explains where it originated and how NOAA's satellites tracked it.
March 16th, 2021, gusty winds from Mexico's Chihuahuan Desert blew large amounts of dust into Texas, lowering air quality and visibility in El Paso. The combination of a dry season due to La Nina, as well as a trough of low pressure set up over the southwest, caused winds in the El Paso area to reach 64 miles per hour. The 200-mile-wide storm was captured from space. Check out these images from NOAA's Goes West satellite. The image on the left shows the satellite's geocolor product. The image on the right shows the Deborah dust product, with the areas in yellow highlighting the dust. The storm lasted 8 hours and reduced visibility down to a quarter mile in some spots. For the National Weather Desk, I'm meteorologist Emily Gracie.
And as we head to break, some spring flowers get their close-up on Alabama's Gulf Coast.
Good Thursday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buckmichael taking a look at your weather story across the Midwest today. We've got snow from Nebraska all the way up through Minnesota here. It's going to be a pretty snowy day across the area with some rain-snow mix. And then we got rain moving its way closer to the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes. That will be in the Ohio Valley for the day tomorrow, especially. Getting a little colder behind that rain, though. Look at the temperatures across the plains. Pretty chilly for your Friday and Saturday, and a little snow across the Great Lakes on Saturday as well.
Good Thursday morning. I'm meteorologist Joe DiCarlo. Look at our forecast across the region. Fairly quiet to start out today. A few showers across central Texas. The bigger threat, though, is going to be during the afternoon and the evening. An enhanced risk, level 3 out of 5 from DFW into northeast Texas, southern Oklahoma. All modes of severe weather will be possible later on this afternoon and this evening. Large hail, damaging winds, and an isolated tornado. This blows through the rest of the region as a cold front overnight Thursday into early Friday.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Rebecca Stevenson. Here's what's happening across the West. Finally, we're getting some drier weather moving into parts of the West. California up through Seattle is going to have a drier day. But the storm system bringing very heavy mountain snow now tracking into the Rockies. Heavy mountain snow over the Colorado Rockies and also turning into a very wet, soggy parts of Arizona. That's the scene from here.
Watching the National Weather Desk.
Well, earlier we talked about a record-setting dust storm in Texas, but what is a dust storm? Is it the same thing as a haboob? To find out, we turn to meteorologist Nick Stewart.
We're in a full-on dust storm. Some of the most treacherous conditions to drive in are the combination of drought and strong wind gusts. A dust storm. There are several different kinds, from small-scale events affecting a few counties to large storms sweeping hundreds of miles.
You don't have to be out here. Don't be out here.
Gradient dust storms affect large areas and are caused by strong winds typically associated with a strong cold front sweeping over very dry areas. These can sometimes be seen from space, like this event in December 2021.
All right, here it comes.
A haboob is the most severe and thickest type of dust storm. These are caused by strong outflow winds ahead of a line of thunderstorms. If a dust storm warning is issued for you, turn off the air conditioning, close the windows in your home, and if you're driving, pull over and let it pass. In Cedar Rapids, Iowa, I'm meteorologist Nick Stewart reporting.
And we love to connect with you. You can find us on all of your favorite social media platforms. Just search the National Weather Desk, and we will be right back. And thank you so much for joining us. Tomorrow on the National Weather Desk, as spring nears, it's time to start thinking about spring cleaning. We'll show you things you can do now to get your home ready for the warmer weather. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great Thursday, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.